James Okocha, 38, stood in his lavish apartment, city lights sparkling below. A billionaire with vast companies, a grand mansion, and luxury cars, he felt empty. 2 failed marriages left him distrustful, focused only on work. Yet one thought haunted him: no heir to carry the Okocha name or inherit his empire. A void wealth couldn't fill, echoing the solitude of African folktale heroes seeking purpose. Anna Nosu, 26, sat on a cold city sidewalk sketching a crying woman on dirty cardboard. Homeless after her mother's death and father's abandonment, she lost her art school dreams. Despite hardship, Anna's pencil moved with purpose, her drawings a refuge from pain. Like resilient heroines in African folktales, she poured her heart into art. Unnoticed by passersby, her talent a quiet defiance against a world that forgot her. James Okocha and Anna Nosu lived in starkly different worlds, his of glittering wealth and hollow isolation, hers of gritty poverty and quiet resilience. Yet, fate was poised to weave their paths together, a twist reminiscent of African folktales where chance sparks transformation. James, resolute to secure an heir without love's entanglements, drove through the city's chaos, his tinted windows shielding him from its pulse. At a red light, his gaze fell on Anna, hunched on the sidewalk, her pencil dancing over cardboard. Her focus, undeterred by the urban din, and her worn clothes spoke of struggle, yet her quiet strength captivated him. Like a figure from the village tales you cherished, she stood out, a beacon of purpose in the crowd. The light turned green, but Anna's image lingered, stirring a curiosity James couldn't shake, setting the stage for a collision that would redefine their lives. The city pulsed with restless energy, its streets a chaotic symphony of honking horns and hurried footsteps. But inside James Okocha's sleek black car, a quiet determination took root. At 38, he had mastered the art of control, building an empire of companies that towered over the skyline. Yet the absence of an heir gnawed at him, a void no wealth could fill. He had resolved to find a woman to bear his child, not for love or marriage, but as a calculated transaction, a legacy secured without the entanglements of his past betrayals. Driving through the urban sprawl, his tinted windows shielded him from the world's clamor, his mind fixed on this singular goal. At a red light near the city center, his gaze fell upon a young woman on the sidewalk, her head bowed over a piece of cardboard, her pencil moving with purpose. Her brown hair, tangled and unwashed, framed a face etched with hardship, yet her focus was unbroken, as if the city's chaos couldn't touch her. Unlike the beggars with outstretched hands, she sought no alms, only the solace of her art. James squinted, intrigued by her quiet strength, a resilience that echoed the heroines of African folktales, like Fae, whose stories you cherish for their depth and defiance. The light turned green, and an impatient honk jolted him forward, but the woman's image lingered, a spark in the monotony of his day. A few blocks later, he pulled into a parking lot, his fingers drumming on the steering wheel. "This is ridiculous," he muttered, yet the pull was undeniable, a whisper of fate akin to the chance encounters in village tales. Turning the car around, he returned to the spot where she still sat, now shading her drawing with delicate strokes. Parking by the curb, he rolled down his window. "Hey you," he called, his voice cutting through the urban din. She looked up, her blue eyes narrowing with caution. "What do you want?" she asked, her tone firm but wary, clutching her pencil like a shield. "Come here," James said, calm but commanding. She hesitated, her lips tightening, but curiosity or desperation drew her to the car. Up close, her youth, perhaps mid-20s, was stark against the weariness in her eyes. A map of struggles survived. "What do you want?" she repeated, sharper now, her stance defensive. James paused, unprepared for the moment's wait. "Get in the car. I'll take you somewhere warm and we can talk." She laughed bitterly. "I'm not stupid." "I'm not here to hurt you," he interrupted, his voice steady. "I have an offer, something that could change your life, but I'm not explaining it out here." She studied him, then his expensive car, skepticism warring with intrigue. "Why would a man like you help someone like me?" she asked. "You'll understand if you come," he replied. After a tense moment, she sighed and climbed in, the silence between them heavy as he drove to a quiet cafe. Inside, they took a corner table, the hum of conversation a soft backdrop to the city's pulse. Anna crossed her arms, her gaze piercing. "So, what's this about?" James leaned forward, his expression resolute. "I need someone to carry my child. I'm willing to pay you more money than you've ever seen to do it." Anna blinked, stunned into silence, her mouth slightly open. "You want me to what?" she asked, disbelief lacing her voice. "I need an heir," James said plainly. "No relationship, no wife, just a child. In return, I'll ensure you're cared for during the pregnancy and give you enough money to start over afterward." Anna stared, her fingers gripping the table's edge. "Why me?" she asked after a long pause. "I saw you on the street," James replied. "You've been through a lot, yet you're still standing. That's the kind of strength I want for my child." Her bitter laugh returned. "You know nothing about me." "Maybe," James conceded, "but I see enough. We can help each other." Anna's mind raced, the offer clashing with her instincts. It felt wrong, a transaction too cold for the warmth of life, yet the specter of her street-bound existence, hunger, cold, hopelessness, gloomed large. The cafe's warmth, a stark contrast to her usual nights, underscored the stakes. Like a character in an African folktale faced with a perilous choice, Anna stood at a crossroads, her heart and survival in delicate balance. The city's neon glow faded into the inky night, leaving Anna Nosu alone on a weathered park bench, her breath visible in the chilly air. The cafe conversation with James Okocha replayed in her mind, his words, "A chance to change everything," echoing like a drumbeat from the African folktales you cherish, where heroes face pivotal choices at life's crossroads. His proposal, to bear his child for a fortune, was both a lifeline and a moral quagmire. Anna, 26 and homeless, had nothing. No family, no shelter, only her pencil and scraps of cardboard to capture her pain. The park, with its gnarled trees and distant hum of traffic, felt like a liminal space, a threshold between her past and an uncertain future. She stared at the cloudy sky, the stars hidden, much like the hope she'd buried since her mother's death and her father's abandonment. Her fingers, stained with charcoal, clutched her tattered coat, the cold seeping into her bones as she weighed her options. Return to the streets, where hunger and fear were her constant companions, or accept James's deal, a transaction that promised escape but challenged her sense of self. Anna's mind churned, torn between survival and the sanctity of creating life. The idea of carrying a child for a stranger felt alien, a betrayal of the dreams she'd once held, of art galleries, of a life where her sketches told stories of joy, not sorrow. Yet the streets offered no mercy, only the relentless grind of scavenging for food and dodging danger. James's offer, with its promise of enough money to return to art school, shimmered like a mirage, tempting yet fraught with risk. Could she trust him, a man whose wealth shielded him from her world? His calm assurance in the cafe, his tailored suit a stark contrast to her worn clothes, suggested a life of control, but his eyes held a flicker of something, loneliness, perhaps, that mirrored her own. Like Faye, the resilient heroine from your stories, Anna stood at a moment of reckoning, her strength tested not by physical trials but by a choice that would redefine her path. As dawn broke, painting the park in hues of gray and gold, Anna woke, her body aching from the bench's hard slats. The city stirred, its pulse quickening, but her decision crystallized in the quiet. She brushed off her coat, the gesture a small act of defiance against her circumstances, and walked toward the cafe where she'd met James. Each step felt heavier, her heart pounding with a mix of resolve and fear. The cafe's warmth greeted her as she pushed open the door, the scent of coffee grounding her nerves. James sat at the same corner table, his posture composed, his dark suit impeccable. He looked up, his expression unreadable. "You've decided?" he asked, his voice steady but expectant. Anna sat across from him, her hands trembling but her voice firm. "I'll do it," she said, the words a leap into the unknown. James nodded as if he'd anticipated her choice. "Good. I've started preparing everything. You'll move into my home today." Anna blinked, startled. "Today? Isn't that too fast?" "I don't waste time," he replied, his tone matter-of-fact. "We'll have a contract ready by evening outlining your responsibilities and mine. You'll be taken care of." Anna bit her lip, the speed overwhelming. "And the money? You'll keep your promise?" James's gaze was unwavering. "Yes. Once the child is born, you'll get what we agreed on, enough to start over anywhere." The promise hung between them, a lifeline tethered to a daunting commitment. Anna's mind flickered with doubt. Could she walk away from a child she'd carry? Yet the alternative, a life of endless struggle, loomed larger. "Fine," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. James stood, leading her to his car, the city's morning bustle a blur as they drove toward a future neither could fully predict. The drive to James's estate was surreal, the city's concrete jungle giving way to wide roads and manicured lawns. Anna stared out the window, her heart racing as the gates of his mansion opened, revealing a world of wealth she'd never imagined. Like a character stepping into a tale's enchanted realm, she felt both awe and trepidation, her decisions sealing her to a path where survival and sacrifice would intertwine, much like the moral journeys in African folktales that test the heart's true strength. The gates of James Okocha's mansion swung open, revealing a world of opulence that seemed to belong to another realm, far removed from the gritty sidewalks Anna Nosu had called home. The estate sprawled before her, its marble facade gleaming under the midday sun, surrounded by gardens where roses bloomed in meticulous rows, their fragrance mingling with the crisp air. Inside, the mansion was a cathedral of wealth, soaring ceilings adorned with crystal chandeliers, floors of polished stone that echoed her hesitant steps, and walls lined with art that spoke of power rather than passion. Anna, still clutching her worn coat, felt like a sparrow in a gilded cage, her presence an anomaly in this sterile grandeur. James led her to a spacious bedroom, its vast bed draped in white silk, its windows framing the garden's perfection. "This is where you'll stay," he said, his voice clipped but not unkind. "My assistant, Mr. Williams, will bring the contract tonight. Read it carefully." Anna nodded, her fingers grazing the soft bedspread, a luxury so foreign it felt unreal. "This doesn't feel real," she whispered. "It's real," James replied, pausing at the door. "You'll get used to it." As James left, Anna sat on the bed's edge, the room's silence pressing against her. The contract, soon delivered, outlined her role: carry James's child, receive full care during pregnancy, and depart with a fortune to start anew. It was a transaction, cold and clear, yet the weight of creating life stirred unease in her heart. The mansion, for all its splendor, felt like a museum, its beauty untouched by warmth. The staff, though polite, moved with mechanical precision, their eyes avoiding hers, reinforcing her sense of being an outsider. Anna wandered the grand halls, her footsteps muffled by plush rugs, feeling like a ghost in a world not her own. Yet, amidst the isolation, a spark of hope flickered. The money promised could resurrect her dream of art school, a chance to reclaim the artist she'd been before life's cruelties intervened. Like Faye, the resilient heroine from the African tales you admire, Anna clung to this possibility, her strength a quiet flame in the mansion's sterile glow. Days turned to weeks, and Anna adjusted to the rhythm of her new life, though the mansion's cold elegance never ceased to unsettle her. James, true to his word, ensured her every need was met: nutritious meals, medical checkups, comfortable clothes, but his presence was sparse, their interactions limited to brief, formal exchanges. One evening, exploring the labyrinthine corridors, Anna stumbled upon a door ajar, revealing a bright studio bathed in natural light. Inside, an easel stood ready, surrounded by paints, pencils, and pristine canvases. On the table lay a note in James's precise handwriting. "You mentioned you love to draw. I thought this might help." Anna's breath caught, her chest tightening with an unexpected warmth. For a man so detached, this gesture felt deeply personal, a bridge across the chasm of their agreement. She ran her fingers over the supplies, the scent of fresh paint stirring memories of art school, of a time when her sketches held dreams instead of pain. Like a village storyteller offering a gift to ease a stranger's burden, James had given her a piece of herself back. The studio became Anna's sanctuary, a space where she could pour her heart onto canvas, her strokes bold and raw. One evening, James joined her for dinner in the grand dining room, its long table dwarfing their quiet meal. The clink of cutlery filled the silence until he spoke. "You've been quiet," he said, his dark eyes studying her. Anna shrugged, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "It's overwhelming, all of this," James nodded, a rare softness in his gaze. "I imagine it would be. You've been through a lot, haven't you?" Surprised by his question, Anna hesitated, then nodded. "Life hasn't been kind, but it made me stronger." His expression shifted, a flicker of admiration crossing his face. "Strength is something I admire." Their conversation stretched late into the night, a rare moment of connection. James shared fragments of his past, a father who prized money over family, leaving him to build walls around his heart. Anna spoke of her shattered dreams, of a mother's love lost and a father's betrayal. Their stories, though worlds apart, wove a thread of shared pain, binding them in a way neither expected. Like characters in an African folk tale finding solace by a communal fire, they became equals, two souls bruised by life's trials. One night, the intimacy of their exchange led to a moment of physical closeness, unplanned and unguarded, blurring the lines of their cold agreement. Weeks later, a doctor's visit confirmed Anna's pregnancy, the news stirring a mix of duty and an unexpected attachment to the life within her. As she felt the first flutters, Anna questioned whether she could fulfill the contract's end, to walk away from her child, a prospect that now felt like tearing out a piece of her soul, setting the stage for a journey beyond the terms she'd signed. The Okocha mansion, a fortress of marble and glass, stood as a monument to James's empire, its manicured gardens blooming with roses that scented the air with fleeting sweetness. Yet, within its walls, a storm brewed. Stirred by Linda Okocha, James's sharp-tongued sister, whose protective instincts masked a deep-seated need for control. Anna Nosu, now settled in the mansion under the terms of her agreement to bear James's child, moved through its grand halls like a shadow, her presence a quiet ripple in the opulent stillness. The staff's polite distance and the mansion's cold elegance only deepened her sense of being an outsider. But Anna, with the resilience of heroines like Faye from the African tales you admire, found solace in the art studio James had gifted her, where her sketches breathed life into her guarded heart. One morning, as Anna sat in the garden, her hands resting on her barely swollen belly, a sharp voice cut through the tranquility. "And who are you supposed to be?" Linda stood at the garden's edge, her tailored dress impeccable, her eyes cold with judgment. Anna rose, her worn sweater a stark contrast to Linda's polish. "I'm Anna," she said cautiously, her voice steady despite the sudden tension. "I'm Linda Okocha, James's sister," the woman replied, her tone dripping with disdain. "What exactly are you doing here?" Linda's questions came like arrows, probing Anna's intentions, her background, her right to inhabit this sacred family space. "How do I know you're not just after my brother's money?" she demanded, her posture rigid. Anna's chest tightened, but she held her ground, her voice firm. "I'm here because James and I made an agreement. That's all you need to know." Like a village elder testing a stranger's worth in an African folk tale, Linda's scrutiny sought to unravel Anna, but Anna's quiet strength refused to bend. Unconvinced, Linda retreated, her mind alight with suspicion. She saw Anna as a threat, a homeless girl who could tarnish the Okocha legacy with her unknown past. Determined to protect her brother, Linda hired a private investigator, her phone pressed to her ear as she issued orders. "I want everything on her," she told the investigator, her voice low and resolute. "If she's hiding something, I'll find it." Days later, a folder arrived, its contents a map of Anna's struggles. A shoplifting arrest at 17, a consequence of desperation after her mother's death. Expulsion from art school for missed classes, a casualty of her homelessness, and a record of her street-bound existence. Linda's lips curled in triumph. She had her weapon. Storming into James's office, Linda dropped the folder on his desk with a thud. "You need to see this," she said sharply, her eyes gleaming with accusation. James, immersed in paperwork, frowned as he opened it, scanning the documents. "What is this supposed to prove?" he asked, his voice calm but edged with irritation. "It proves she's not who she says she is," Linda retorted, A criminal? A dropout? A nobody? She's been hiding this from you, James. His face hardened, but not with the outrage Linda expected. Leave, Linda, he said coldly, his tone brooking no argument. This doesn't change anything. Linda's jaw tightened, but she stormed out, the door slamming behind her, her heels clicking like a war drum on the marble floor. Alone, James reread the folder, his thoughts a tangle of doubt and resolve. Anna's past, raw and unvarnished, didn't diminish her in his eyes. It underscored the strength he'd seen in her, the same resilience that had drawn him to her on the sidewalk. Like a chief in an African folktale, weighing a villager's worth beyond their mistakes, James chose to trust the woman he was beginning to know, not the shadows of her history. Yet Linda's interference planted a seed of unease, a reminder that Anna's place in his world was precarious, her heart still tethered to the uncertainties of their deal. The Okocha mansion, with its chandelier-lit halls and rose-scented gardens, held a deceptive calm, but beneath its surface new tensions simmered. Anna Nosu, now carrying James's child, navigated its opulence with quiet resolve, her art studio a refuge where her sketches captured dreams and doubts. Yet, Linda Okocha's distrust lingered like a storm cloud, her earlier confrontation leaving Anna wary. Unbeknownst to Anna, Linda had devised a new plan to protect her brother's legacy, one that would strike at the heart of Anna's fragile place in the mansion. In a calculated move, Linda invited Julia, James's ex-wife, to the estate, hoping her polished charm would reclaim James's heart and displace the outsider Anna. Like a scheming figure in an African folktale, Linda wove a web of interference, her actions threatening the delicate bond forming between James and Anna. One afternoon, the doorbell's chime echoed through the mansion's grand hallway, its marble floors gleaming under the soft glow of daylight. Anna, painting in her studio, barely noticed until a woman's voice, smooth and confident, drifted through the house. "James, it's been so long!" Curious, Anna stepped out, her heart sinking as she saw Julia, a tall, glamorous figure with flowing hair and a designer bag, embracing James. His response was polite but stiff, a cautious return of her hug. "Julia," he said, his tone neutral, "what are you doing here?" "I couldn't stay away," Julia replied, her smile coy. "I've been thinking about us. I made a mistake leaving you." Linda appeared, her expression smug. "I thought it would be nice to have Julia visit," she said, glancing at Anna with barely concealed triumph. Anna felt a pang, her worn sweater and paint-stained hands stark against Julia's elegance. Like a village outsider facing a revered guest in a folktale, she sensed her place in James's world slipping. Over the next few days, Julia made herself at home, her presence a constant reminder of Anna's precarious role. She filled the mansion with reminiscences, her laughter ringing through dinners as she spoke of past moments with James. "The child will need a mother," she said one evening, her voice sweet but pointed. "Who better than someone who knows you, James, someone who loves you?" James remained distant, his responses polite but guarded, yet Anna couldn't shake the unease. Julia's confidence, her ease in this world of wealth, made Anna feel like an intruder, her pregnancy a mere contract against Julia's claim to James's heart. The mansion's grandeur, once merely cold, now felt hostile, its mirrors reflecting Anna's doubts. One afternoon, Julia found Anna in the garden, the rose's fragrance heavy in the air. "You're the one carrying James's child," Julia said, her tone almost mocking as she tilted her head. "Yes," Anna replied, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "Well," Julia continued, her smile thin, "I suppose I should thank you. But don't get too comfortable. Once the baby's born, I'll be the one raising it with James. He needs someone who truly understands him." Anna's heart twisted, but she refused to falter. "We'll see," she said calmly, turning away, her steps firm on the garden path. Yet, that night, alone in her room, Anna's composure crumbled. Jealousy, sharp and unfamiliar, mingled with a deeper realization. Her feelings for James were no longer just gratitude or duty. She cared for him, perhaps even loved him, a truth that terrified her in the face of Julia's poised challenge. Like a heroine in an African folktale confronted by a rival, Anna faced a test of heart, her resilience strained by the fear of losing a future she hadn't dared to dream. The Okocha mansion, with its marble halls and rose-scented gardens, shimmered under the city's golden dusk, but an undercurrent of tension rippled through its opulent calm. Anna Nosu, now carrying James's child, felt the weight of her precarious place in this world of wealth, her heart stirred by a growing affection for James that clashed with the cold terms of their agreement. Julia, James's ex-wife, had swept into the mansion at Linda's invitation, her glamorous presence a sharp contrast to Anna's quiet resilience. Like a cunning figure in an African folktale, Julia moved with calculated grace, her flowing hair and designer attire commanding attention as she sought to reclaim James's heart, casting Anna as an outsider in a narrative she didn't write. The mansion's grandeur, once merely isolating, now felt like a stage for a drama where Anna's role was uncertain, her strength reminiscent of Faye's enduring spirit from the tales you admire, tested by each of Julia's calculated moves. Julia made herself at home, her laughter echoing through the dining room as she reminisced about old times with James, her voice a melodic lure. At one dinner, her eyes glinted with intent as she leaned toward him, her words cloaked in sweetness. "The child will need a mother, James," she said, her tone pointed. "And who better than someone who knows you, who loves you?" The words hung heavy, a challenge to Anna's silent presence at the table. James's response was measured, his face a mask of polite detachment. "The child will have what it needs," he said, his voice cool, deflecting her advance. Yet Julia persisted, her conversations laced with hints of a rekindled future, each smile a reminder of her ease in this world Anna struggled to navigate. Anna, seated across from her, felt a sting of jealousy, her paint-stained hands hidden beneath the table, her heart wrestling with feelings she hadn't dared name. The mansion's chandeliers cast a harsh light on her doubts, amplifying her fear that Julia's polished charm might eclipse her quiet resolve. One evening, Julia cornered James in his office, the room's mahogany desk and leather-bound books a backdrop to her bold move. She leaned against the desk, her voice soft but insistent. "I don't know why you're being so stubborn, James. We were good together once. We can be again. Think about it. This child needs a mother, and I'm the perfect choice." Her confidence, honed by years in James's world, filled the space, but James stood, his posture rigid. "Julia, you left because I wasn't the man you wanted," he said, his tone firm. "You said I was too cold, too distant. Maybe you were right. But I'm not that man anymore." Julia flinched, her composure wavering, but she pressed on. "People change, James. We could try again, for the child's sake." James's eyes narrowed, his patience exhausted. "This child will have everything they need. If that includes a mother, I'll find one on my terms, not because you regret leaving. I don't need you, and I don't want you back." His words, sharp and final, cut through her facade, leaving her stunned. The office, with its heavy silence, bore witness to a rejection rooted in James's growing clarity, a moment akin to a folktale hero asserting his truth against a deceptive allure. Julia's face fell, her confidence crumbling like a mask slipping in the village square. "You're making a mistake," she said quietly, her voice trembling with wounded pride. "No," James replied, unwavering. "The mistake was thinking you cared about me more than what I could give you." He gestured to the door. "Please leave. This is not your home anymore." The air thickened with the weight of his decision, a stand that marked a shift in his heart, one Anna could not yet see but which would shape their shared path. Julia's departure loomed, her presence a fading echo in the mansion's vast halls. Yet the ripples of her challenge lingered, stirring Anna's insecurities and setting the stage for further trials in a story woven with the moral threads of trust and authenticity. The Okocha mansion, its marble corridors aglow with chandelier light, stood as a silent witness to the shifting tides within its walls. Julia's departure marked a turning point, her car vanishing down the long driveway as she shot Anna a venomous glare. "Enjoy this while it lasts," she spat, her voice bitter. "You won't be here forever." Anna stood motionless, the garden's rose fragrance heavy around her, her heart a tumult of relief and lingering doubt. Julia's exit, though a victory, did little to ease the tension that clung to the mansion like morning mist. Linda Okocha, James's sister, seethed at her brother's rejection of Julia, her ally in preserving the family's polished legacy. Anna, pregnant with James's child, felt the weight of Linda's animosity, her quiet resilience. Akin to Faye's steadfast spirit in the African tales you cherish, tested by the growing hostility, the mansion, once a cold refuge, now felt like a battleground, its opulence a stark backdrop to the drama unfolding within. Linda's fury erupted when she learned James had sent Julia away. Storming into his office, her heels clicking like war drums on the marble floor, she confronted him, her face flushed with rage. "What are you thinking?" she snapped. "Julia is perfect for you. That girl," she spat, gesturing toward Anna's unseen presence, "is nothing but trouble. You're risking everything for her." James, seated at his mahogany desk, met her gaze with icy calm. "Enough, Linda," he said, his voice low but sharp. "This is my life, my child, my decision. I won't have you interfering any more." Linda's jaw tightened, her eyes blazing with defiance, but James's tone left no room for argument. Like a village elder rebuffed in a folktale council, she retreated, her anger smoldering, her resolve to undermine Anna unbroken. The office, with its leather-bound books and city skyline view, held the echo of their clash, a testament to James's growing loyalty to Anna, though she remained unaware of his stand. Anna, meanwhile, felt the sting of Linda's disdain, in every glance, every barbed remark. Crossing paths in the mansion's grand foyer, Linda's eyes would narrow, her silence louder than words, branding Anna an intruder. Anna retreated to her art studio, her sanctuary of paints and canvases, where she poured her fears into bold strokes, her resilience a quiet defiance against the hostility. Yet the mansion's walls seemed to whisper her outsider status, amplifying her insecurity about her place in James's world and her unborn child's future. The contract, once a clear transaction, now felt like a chain, binding her to a role she no longer fully understood. Like a heroine in an African folktale navigating a hostile court, Anna's heart wavered, her love for James a secret she guarded even from herself, fearing it would unravel her fragile stability. A few days later, James insisted on accompanying Anna to a routine medical appointment, his presence a quiet reassurance amid her turmoil. The clinic's sterile air contrasted with the mansion's warmth, but as the doctor began the ultrasound, a new rhythm filled the room. The steady thump of a heartbeat echoed, followed by a second, equally strong. The doctor's face lit up. "Well, this is a surprise," she said. "You're having twins." Anna's jaw dropped, her hand instinctively clutching the table's edge. "Twins?" she whispered, awe mingling with fear. James leaned forward, his stoic facade cracking with rare emotion. "Are you sure?" he asked, his eyes fixed on the monitor. The doctor nodded, pointing to the screen. "Here's baby 1, and here's baby 2, both healthy and growing perfectly." Anna stared, the reality of 2 lives within her shifting the weight of her agreement. The clinic, with its beeping machines and soft lights, became a sacred space, a moment of connection that mirrored the communal joy of a village birth in the tales you love, binding Anna and James in a shared wonder that transcended their contract. The Okocha mansion, its marble halls aglow with the soft flicker of chandeliers, stood as a silent sentinel to the shifting tides within. Anna Nosu, now visibly pregnant, moved through its opulent corridors with a quiet grace, her heart a battleground of hope and fear. The contract that bound her to James Okocha to bear his child for a fortune had once been a clear transaction, but the life growing inside her, coupled with her deepening feelings for James, blurred its edges. One morning, James insisted on accompanying Anna to a routine medical appointment, his presence a steady anchor amid her swirling emotions. The clinic, with its sterile walls and antiseptic tang, hummed with quiet efficiency as the doctor prepared the ultrasound. Anna lay on the examination table, her hand clutching the edge, her breath shallow with anticipation. James stood nearby, his arms crossed, but his gaze fixed on the monitor, a rare vulnerability in his eyes. As the doctor moved the transducer, a rhythmic thump filled the room, strong and steady. Anna's lips curved into a smile, tears pricking her eyes, but then a second heartbeat joined the first, equally vibrant. The doctor's face lit up. "Well, this is a surprise," she said, her voice warm. "You're having twins." Anna's jaw dropped, her heart racing. "Twins?" she whispered, awe mingling with a sudden fear. James leaned forward, his stoic facade cracking with emotion. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice low but intense. The doctor nodded, pointing to the screen. "Here's baby 1, and here's baby 2, both healthy and growing perfectly." The monitor glowed with the outlines of 2 tiny forms, their heartbeats a duet that resonated like a village drum, binding Anna and James in a moment of shared wonder. The clinic's soft lights cast a halo around them, transforming the sterile space into something sacred, akin to a communal celebration in an African folktale where new life heralds hope. Anna's hand trembled as she touched her belly, the reality of 2 lives within her reshaping her understanding of the contract. James's eyes, usually guarded, shimmered with a mix of astonishment and something deeper, pride perhaps, or love. As they left the clinic, the city's bustle faded into a distant hum, their silence heavy with unspoken thoughts. James walked beside her, his usual composure softened, his steps slower as if to savor the moment. In the car he turned to her, his expression earnest. "Anna," he began, his voice low, "I need to tell you something." Her heart pounded, sensing the weight of his words. "This started as a business arrangement," he continued, "but it's not that anymore. Somewhere along the way I realized I care about you, more than I've cared about anyone in a long time. I didn't expect it and it scares me, but it's the truth." Anna stared, her breath catching as tears welled. The city's skyline blurred beyond the window, its cold lights no match for the warmth flooding her chest. "James," she said, her voice trembling, "I've been in love with you for a long time. I just didn't think you'd ever feel the same." Her confession, raw and unguarded, hung between them like a sacred vow. James's face softened, relief washing over him as he pulled her into his arms. "You don't have to worry anymore," he whispered, his voice a promise. "We'll figure this out together." Back at the mansion, the twins' presence reshaped their world. Anna's paintings in the studio took on new vibrancy, her strokes capturing the hope she now dared to hold. James, once a man of control, spoke of the twins with a warmth that betrayed his transformation, his office hours shrinking as he lingered with Anna in the garden or studio. Like a chief in an African folktale embracing a new legacy, he let go of his need to dictate every outcome, allowing love to guide him. Yet, the contract's shadow lingered, a reminder of the terms they'd outgrown, and Linda's simmering resentment threatened to disrupt their fragile harmony, setting the stage for a future where their love would be tested by the weight of family and legacy. The Okocha mansion, once a cold monument of marble and glass, stood poised for transformation, its rose-scented gardens whispering of new beginnings. Anna Nosu, heavy with the twins she carried for James Okocha, felt the stirrings of a love that had grown beyond their initial contract, binding her to James and the lives within her. The city's skyline, visible through the mansion's vast windows, glittered with promise. Yet Anna's heart raced with anticipation and fear as the day of birth approached. Like a heroine in the African folktales you cherish, Anna stood at the threshold of a new chapter, her resilience akin to Faye's enduring spirit, tested by the weight of impending motherhood. James, his once guarded demeanor softened by love, hovered near, his quiet presence a steady anchor in the storm of their evolving bond. The night of the twins' birth arrived abruptly, shattering the mansion's calm. Anna, dismissing earlier discomfort as pregnancy's toll, was gripped by sharp pains as evening fell. James found her in the living room, clutching her belly, her face pale. "It's happening," she gasped, her voice a mix of fear and resolve. James sprang into action, his usual control masking a torrent of emotion as he called the doctor and rushed her to the hospital. The city's lights blurred past, the car's hum a counterpoint to Anna's labored breaths. James held her hand, his grip firm, his calm facade belying the storm within. At the hospital, the sterile corridors buzzed with urgency, the antiseptic air sharp against the warmth of their shared moment. Anna was whisked to the delivery room, and James, defying the staff's suggestion to wait outside, stood resolute. "I'm staying," he said, his voice unwavering, his hand never leaving hers. The hours that followed were a crucible of intensity. Anna's cries mingled with the doctor's encouragement, punctuated by moments of silence that stretched endlessly. When the first baby's cry pierced the air, a boy, Anna burst into tears, her exhaustion giving way to joy. Before she could catch her breath, another cry followed, a girl, her voice equally strong. "It's a boy and a girl," the doctor announced, smiling as she wrapped the twins in soft blankets. Anna, drained but radiant, cradled them, their tiny faces stirring a love so deep it felt like a physical ache. James stood beside her, his stoic mask shattered, his eyes glistening as he reached out to touch his son's hand, then his daughter's. "They're perfect," he whispered, his voice thick with awe. The delivery room, with its beeping monitors and soft lights, became a sacred space, echoing the communal joy of a village birth in African tales, where new life binds hearts in shared celebration. In the hospital's quiet hours, James sat by Anna's bedside, her face serene in rest. When she stirred, her smile met his. "You did amazing," he said softly, his hand brushing hers. "So did you," she replied, her voice warm. James's gaze faltered, a rare vulnerability surfacing. "I'm scared, Anna," he admitted, his whisper barely audible. "What if I fail them? What if I'm like my father, too cold, too distant?" Anna squeezed his hand, her eyes steady. "You won't. You're here, caring, wanting to be better. That's what matters." Her words, simple yet profound, anchored him, their shared fear forging a deeper bond. Back at the mansion, the twins' arrival transformed its sterile halls. Their cries and giggles filled the air, softening the marble's chill with a warmth James had never known. Anna and James navigated parenthood together, their sleepless nights and tender moments weaving a family tapestry, their love for the twins a new legacy that outshone the wealth around them, setting the stage for a future rooted in connection rather than contract. The Okocha mansion, now alive with the twins' laughter, shed its former coldness, its marble halls warmed by the pulse of family. Anna Nosu and James Okocha, once bound by a sterile contract, had forged a love that reshaped their world. The twins, a boy and a girl, cementing their bond. The gardens, fragrant with roses, bloomed as if in celebration, their petals catching the city's golden light. Yet the echoes of past tensions lingered, particularly in Linda Okocha's absence. Her earlier hostility, driven by a need to control James's legacy, had strained their family, but the twins' arrival opened a path to reconciliation, a theme resonant with the forgiveness woven into the African folktales you admire, where communal harmony triumphs over discord. Weeks after the birth, Linda visited unannounced, her tailored elegance at odds with the mansion's newfound warmth. She stood in the nursery, watching James rock his daughter gently while Anna fed their son, the scene a quiet tableau of love. Something shifted in Linda, her sharp edges softening. Later, in the living room, she approached James, her voice hesitant. "I was wrong," she said, her eyes downcast. "I tried to control something that wasn't mine. Seeing you with them, I understand now. You've built something beautiful, and I'm sorry for trying to tear it apart." James studied her, then nodded. "Thank you, Linda, that means a lot." Her apology, like a village elder's amends in a folk tale, marked a turning point, her offer to help with the twins a gesture of redemption that healed old wounds, weaving her back into the family. Anna, empowered by James's support, revived her art career, her studio a haven where she balanced motherhood and creativity. James connected her with galleries, and her vibrant paintings, infused with her journey's hope and pain, sold swiftly. One evening, returning from an exhibition, she beamed, holding a check. "They sold 3 paintings," she told James, her exhaustion eclipsed by joy. "I'm proud of you," he said, pulling her into a hug, their shared pride a testament to their partnership. The mansion, once a symbol of isolation, now echoed with their triumphs, its walls bearing witness to a love that defied its origins. Like a community celebrating a hero's rise in African tales, their success was a collective victory, rooted in mutual support. One moonlit night, James led Anna to the garden, the air thick with jasmine and promise. He held the contract that had once defined them, its pages now irrelevant. "This was how it started," he said, tearing it in half, the pieces fluttering to the ground. From his pocket he drew a velvet box and knelt. "I don't want a contract, Anna. I want love. You've changed my life. Will you marry me? Not for the twins, not for an agreement, but because I love you." Tears streamed down Anna's face as she nodded. "Yes, James, 1,000 times yes," she said, her voice trembling with joy. He slipped a ring onto her finger, their kiss under the stars sealing a vow of love, a moment echoing the sacred unions of folktale lovers who overcome trials for unity. Their wedding, held in the same garden, was simple yet heartfelt, surrounded by friends, family, and the giggling twins in matching outfits. Anna, in a flowing white dress, held pink roses, her radiance outshining the city's glow. James, dashing in a tailored suit, vowed, "I promise to love and support you, to build a life with you." Anna replied, "I promise to stand by you, to cherish you with all my heart." As they kissed, cheers erupted, the twins' laughter, a joyful chorus. The story's lessons, drawn from African folktale wisdom, shone clear. True love grows from the heart, not wealth. Forgiveness mends broken bonds, and valuing people for their essence brings fulfillment. Anna and James from disparate worlds found a family through love, their journey a testament to the resilience and communal spirit you cherish in tales like Faye's, their home now a beacon of hope and harmony.